I drove my BMW into the parking lot of St. Victor's Church and looked in the rearview mirror to apply my lipstick. Chanel lip cream in the shade of Coquette, which I've used ever since I learned about it from a makeup artist on one of the sets I've worked on over the years. I checked out my lips in the mirror, stuck the lip color back into my purse, jumped out of the car, and looked back at my parking job. A little too close to the line, I thought. That's when I noticed the worn bumper sticker that had faded in the California sun over the past 4 years. Obama 08. I sighed, headed across the small parking lot, and pulled open the heavy doors of the church. I'd been blacked into voting for President Obama, I thought as I walked into the church. It was darker inside than it was outside, because the church was lit only by candles. While my eyes adjusted, I inhaled deeply the aroma. Frankincense, the sweet, honeyed smell that I now associate with God Himself. The church was empty, except for 1 or 2 other souls who'd come in for prayers. I quietly walked over to the bank of votive candles, whose light was dancing on the wall behind them, and lit one for myself. In Catholic tradition, people often light a candle as they pray a specific prayer. That's why I'd come. Feeling adrift and a little nervous as I lit the candle, I got down on my knees and I talked to God. It was October, and the country was in a hotly contested presidential election. President Barack Obama was running against Republican challenger Mitt Romney, and election news dominated every television channel, every newspaper, every bumper. In California, the bumpers were pretty united for Obama, including mine. But I had begun to disagree with my own bumper sticker. To be honest, I didn't know anything about Obama when I voted for him the first time. Like many other Americans, I looked at him, wanted America to be great, and pulled the lever. Naive. I needed to pray. God, I said, should I do it? Whether anyone's ever prayed about sending a tweet before, I don't know. But I had composed a tweet before leaving for church and just couldn't decide whether to send it. I'd never gotten political, which is why Gina, originally my personal assistant, now my friend and even my sister, was against it. Don't do it, she advised. Stay away from getting people angry. You're not known for politics, so there's no reason to get half of America mad at you. But I had grown so tired of President Obama's shtick. He had the opportunity to unite this country in such a profound way, but instead, he did the opposite. When he accepted the Democratic nomination for president, I had so much hope. I was so sick of people complaining about race, prejudice, and bigotry. I feel like my whole life has been dominated by those kinds of accusations. I was ready for a black president who, once and for all, would prove that America had moved past its history of slavery and repression. If a black man could lead the free world, surely we as Americans had evolved into something better. He sounded good. I am absolutely certain that generations from now we will be able to look back and tell our children that this was the moment when we began to provide care for the sick and good jobs to the jobless. This was the moment when the rise of the oceans began to slow and our planet began to heal. This was the moment when we ended a war and secured our nation and restored our image as the last best hope on earth, he had said with such grandeur. This was the moment, this was the time, when we came together to remake this great nation so that it may always reflect our very best selves, our highest ideals. In retrospect, I felt like a fool for actually believing that shit. A mere man was going to make the oceans recede? Please. He couldn't even make good on his promise to cause America to come together. We were more divided, angrier, and more partisan than I'd ever seen in my lifetime. In fact, since Obama had taken office, suddenly everything was about race. I hadn't paid too much attention to the last campaign, but any casual observer could tell Obama was taking advantage of uneducated people by betting on one single fact. People would vote for him because his skin color was enough.